EWLC version 16.10 RRM basic configuration. The menu structure is a bit different in EWLC, but it's laid out in a logical fashion. All of our RRM and radio configurations are going to be under radio configurations. The exception is RF tags, which is going to be under tags and profiles. We'll cover this. Once into the RRM configuration, you'll find a very familiar menu. All of the elements of RRM's basic configuration for the global level are present. There are some additions, and there are some things that are still going to be in flux and removed. Profile thresholds, noise, monitoring channels, and monitor intervals, notably on the general page. The monitor mode checkbox will be removed. This is a corner case feature and does not need to be on the GUI. And the monitor intervals, notably, are pre-8.0 AirOS. These will be upgraded to match the current 8.2 through 8.8 releases and use the NDP factor and the more familiar now config dialog in 16.11. Coverage presents exactly the same. This is coverage whole enabled or disabled at a global level, and then you can, of course, manage that through the WLAN profiles. DCA retains all of its features and is very similar to the AirOS configuration. Transmit power control, one notable difference is that TPC version 2 is no longer presented. In fact, it is no longer supported on EWLC. What led to that decision was the ability of channel aware added with TPC version 1, bringing what was good about TPC version 2 into TPC version 1. In 16.10, this is not available on the EWLC, but it will be available in 16.11. RF grouping presents exactly the same, with the options of making it a leader or automatically participating in an RF group. Hierarchy depends upon the implementation type of the EWLC, the number of APs. FRA being added to the RRM menu is actually quite nice, and its features are of the 8.2 through 8.4 variety. 8.5, we added 2 additional modes for FRA to operate in, the client aware mode and the sensor support mode. Both of these will be coming in 16.11. Moving up the same configuration menu to the network configuration, we're presented with both the 5 gigahertz and the 2.4 gigahertz bands on the same page, and the same dialog that you're familiar with in AirOS. This, of course, is where you set the global data rates that your network will support. You'll want to go through 5 gigahertz and repeat the same for 2.4 gigahertz with appropriate values. High throughput menu is separate from the network menu now and presents you the opportunity to select all, which is the Cisco recommended best practice. RF profiles, again, are under the Tags and Profiles menu. When you open a new RF profile dialog, you're presented with the default RF profiles presented today with AirOS of the low, high, and typical client density varieties. Opening a new profile follows the same pattern. You'll enter a meaningful name, choose the band that the profile is to be applied to, disable or enable the status of that profile. 802.11 menu has the same options on it as AirOS. One notable exception, the 802.11n client only checkmark. This is a CLI command that's been in AirOS forever. That will be removed in 16.11 as well. There's no real good use cases for that, and if you select it, it'll prevent anything that's not at least 802.11n from joining the network. RF profile workflow into RRM, the same exact options that you have for an RF profile, a little bit different spacing on some of the options. Some things were moved to advanced, which was a fair move. I'll show you that here in a second. As far as profile thresholds for traps, the coverage profile, the TPC and DCA, all of the options are retained and match that of AirOS. Under the Advanced tab, we always had high density parameters and client distribution. This has been moved, the high speed roam and the ATF configuration have been moved from the DCA menu over to the Advanced tab, which is sensible. CleanAir within EWLC has its own menu item and again covers 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz. This is where you will enable CleanAir globally or SI spectrum intelligence for the 1800 series models. Reporting interferers, persistent device assistance, the same exact options retained from AirOS. Trap configurations allows for the air quality index trap, setting that index, and then the enable interference for security alarms. Keep in mind, when you use this, those are just interferers that you consider to be a security alarm, and they do override the utilization values of the same type interferers from the AP. Making EWLC work within the same RF group as AirOS controllers requires a little bit of special handling. Most everyone is using AP groups now, and in order to make an AP group match the AP tag that we're now applying within EWLC's concepts, the names for the site tag, the policy tag, and the RF tag must share the common name which matches that of the AP group in AirOS. This is important because RRM treats an AP group as a bounded set of APs for calculation purposes, and FRA definitely only works within an AP group construct. So if you do not match the AP groups, you probably will not be running FRA with EWLC as a group leader. As an example, the AP group GIMS Lab exists in AirOS. In order to make this compatible with EWLC, my policy tag, my site tag, and my RF tag, which contain my RF profiles, must all share the name GIMS Lab. If this is done and the EWLC is the leader in the RF group, everything works just fine as long as it's the leader in both bands. Hopefully you see how easy this is and you won't be nervous about jumping into it. Thanks for your time today.